New to cassettes? You've come to the right place. Gary, keep it simple. Hi, if you're new to cassettes, welcome. This is just a quick one to show you what you need, well, what I need, and maybe it'll be of use to you. So if you're using your cassette deck like I do, this is what I start with. A pen, a simple Bic type pen. Ballpoint, it'll fit within the sprockets of the tape. Then you're going to need either a type 2 or a type 1 tape to do the recordings on. Sounds a bit obvious, but you forget that sometimes. This is isopropyl alcohol. This is for keeping things clean, and then you need the Q-tips to go with it. Set of headphones. Headphones are so you can listen to see if the tape has got anything that you wouldn't normally hear in your stereo system. You always hear those later otherwise. And a torch for looking into the dark bits. You need the pen to wind up the slack in the tape. You need the alcohol and the Q-tips to keep this clean. This is the central head, it's the silver bit, the big rubber wheel, and the black head. If you don't get it right, this is what you end up with. It's just a nightmare, and it needn't happen. Don't forget though, you're going to have to connect it to an amplifier and speakers, or a set of powered speakers, something like Bluetooth speakers with a wire, that sort of thing, that'll keep you going. On my channel you'll find this video which covers the connections in simplistic detail. Now we're going to turn our attention to these bad boys. This is the nightmare everybody dreams of with cassettes, and this is how you prevent it. As you can see, this is my cassette deck, and I'm going to just show you how one of the things you have to be very proficient at. In there is the tape path. Now what you have to do is keep that clean. You can see the stereo head in the middle, the silver one. To the left is the erase head, and to the right is the capstan and pinch roller. Those all have to be kept clean. On this one, you can see they are relatively clean, but I'm going to clean it anyway. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of the isopropyl alcohol. Now I've put it into a little bottle because I don't want to have the big bottle, which I've got somewhere. I've got a litre bottle of it, and I don't want to be using that, and I don't want to be doing it. What a lot of people do is they have a cap, something like that, and they do dribble it into the cap. Then they get their Q-tip or cotton bud and they dip in the cap. This, to me, okay, it works for you if it floats your boat, but not very good, because after you've done the first wipe, if you've got particularly dirty heads, you'll then double dip in, you're making the isopropyl dirty, and you're then spreading it out. So instead of having clean heads, you're getting heads with a very microscopic edge. Having got me wet cotton bud, Q-tip, whatever you want to call it, I can now look down here, and it's quite simple. Just squeeze it across, just make sure it's clean, and the same with the other one. Just do it on the head. Doesn't matter if you go side to side or up and down. Just got to make sure you wipe it. What you do want to try and pay attention to is, I don't know if you can see it on here, there's a little groove and a guide there. You want to make sure that that's clean properly. And on the other side, now I'm going to turn the power on this, and we'll see what happens. Comes up W1200. It's now in the standby mode. Now, because this is a modern deck, nothing is spinning. Just make sure, yeah, nothing is spinning. So it's not actually trying to do anything, which means you can happily clean the pinch roller. And you see I'll get that just nicely black. Where you can see where you've wiped it. There is a certain skill to it. You can remove the doors on a lot of decks, but yeah, it's not really necessary on this one. And clean the capstan. Now, on a lot of decks, the capstan would actually be rotating and would be quite easy to clean. But you have to be careful because the Q-tips, cotton buds, have a habit of shedding, and they can wrap around the capstan and can cause damage. I've got this footage of a Dennon deck, and you can see here it's slightly different to the TIAC. It's actually got two big rubber wheels, and it's got the head on the silvery thing in the middle. Now that is a Autoreverse head, So what happens is when it gets to the end of the tape, it rotates 180 degrees and goes in the other direction, hence the two big black rubber wheels. And you can also see on here, it's fairly clear that there's the take up and supply spools. They're driven independently, and they make sure that the tape doesn't loop or isn't too stiff to pull out. As you can see, the erase head is on this thing as well, which means that both heads are rotated when the tape reverses direction. And that's why I said in the previous video that you have to be a bit fussy about these things, because they are not the most easy pieces of equipment to look after. Okay, now here you can see that the cassette override is being pressed, which means that this deck will go into playback mode whilst there's no cassette in there. And using the isopropyl on the Q-tip, you can now easily rub the big black rubber wheel. But it's not recommended if you can't find the switches. If you do this and you get things stuck, it can all go very, very wrong. I personally would not recommend doing it this way, but a lot of people who know what they're doing do it this way, and they have relative success with it. What you will see in a few seconds, though, is the heads will switch from one direction to the other, because it will be put into the reverse mode, and it's actually quite novel to watch. Look at the muck that's coming off that rubber roller, though. This is why you actually have to clean these things, because they do get dirty. That is the film from the tape that's been slightly abrased and just come off, and has got itself stuck onto the roller. And it's well worth keeping them clean. There we go, there's the heads rotated, and then they're back again. That's how quick they do it, and that's why you have to keep them well maintained. Whilst you've got it going in that direction, of course you can clean the other capstan, because it's both capstans are running at the same time. That one's easier to clean, but again, I wouldn't recommend doing this with the power on anyway. Just a word of warning and to point out that the parts marked red now, there and there, they will all at some point need lubrication and maintenance, and that is not, I repeat, not a job for the amateur. Quite simply, with a bit of common sense, bottle of isopropyl and some cotton buds, you can actually enjoy yourself, and the cassette deck can have a wonderful service life. If you don't get too complicated, you can actually enjoy it for many years to come. If there is anything more complicated, get an expert in, get some advice, don't just go fiddling. Okay, I hope that all made sense. Any queries, put them in the comments. If you'd like to subscribe or share or like, much appreciated. And we'll catch you again. Bye bye.